As is our practice, we begin with our land acknowledgement. The City of Beaumont respects the histories, languages, and cultures of all First Peoples of this land, whether they be of First Nation, Métis, or Inuit descent, and appreciates that their presence continues to enrich vibrant communities across the land. As we gather here in Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis Nation, we acknowledge that we are all treaty people and have ongoing responsibilities to protect and honor the treaty, the inherent rights of the people, and the land. With that, we turn to the adoption of the agenda. Do I have someone willing to move the agenda as presented? Go ahead, Mayor Daniluk.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I move that the June 17, 20. Thank you.
Ready to vote? I do believe we have 2 people registered for open forum. Is that correct?
Thank you, Chair. We do have 2 people registered for this evening. The first one is Mr. Colin Hatch. Do not see Mr. Hatch in the audience, so we will start with our second registered open forum, Mr. Carl Savard, if he would like to move up to the front there to make his presentation.
Welcome, Mr. Savard. Thank you for the work you've done and for making it available to us ahead of time. Once I activate your mic, please just state your name for the record, and then feel free to make your presentation. You'll have 5 minutes, following which will be open for council to ask any questions that they may have. Thank you for coming in tonight. You have the floor.
Thank you. I was hoping to be the second instead of the first, but that's okay. My name is Carl Savard, and I've been a resident of Beaumont for the last 15 years. I'm here tonight to share with you some results of a survey that was conducted as part of a current bachelor's degree studies that I'm going through. As part of my studies, I was tasked to build a quality improvement project. The project I chose to concentrate my studies was to analyze the overall acceptance, compliance, and possible improvement of the 50 km/h zone speed limit just north of Highway 510 of Township Road 510. So the project fit well with my experience in civil engineering, and that's why I chose it. As part of the project, I gathered information from the community relative to their experience, their acceptance, and compliance with the posted speed limit. I created a Google form and posted it on the very renowned Beaumont Talks website. And as a result of that, within the first 24 hours, I had over 200 responses. Within 6 days, I had 325 responses from that survey. So I'm here tonight to share some of the results of that survey. Of the 325 respondents captured by the survey, the majority live here in Beaumont, and they're over 18 years old. Most of the respondents travel through the area daily or frequently during the week. 98.2% of the respondents are aware of the speed limit change, but 92.6% of the response believe that the new speed limit is not reasonable for the designated area. 98.4% of the respondents typically drive faster than the designated speed limit in this designated area. And 64% of the respondents believe that the current speed limit is not necessary. 61.2% follow the traffic, the flow of the traffic, and 19.4% feel it's safe to drive faster. Only 18.5% of the respondents stated that they've never driven over the speed limit. So to complement this survey, I went out one evening on June 3rd for about an hour between 8 and 9 p.m. And what I did is I followed the traffic, northbound lane, southbound lane for about an hour, and captured the actual speed limits, the speed limits of vehicles. And during that 1 hour period, the average speed was 65 kilometers an hour through that area. If you discard those below 60 kilometers an hour, the average speed limit increased to 68 kilometers an hour in that area. Some were clocked at 80 plus. 95.1% of the respondents believe that an appropriate speed for this stretch of road is over 60 kilometers. The greater portion of the respondents believe that the speed limit should be 80 kilometers. 62.8% of those respondents do not understand why the speed was changed by city officials somehow. And 89.2% believe that the speed limit currently posted does not improve safety in the designated area. Some of the key community concerns that came out of all of the responses that were provided: many residents feel that 50-kilometer limit is excessive for a divided multi-lane road with few direct residential or commercial accesses. Some residents noted that similar roads surrounding the city have speeds of 60 kilometer hours or higher with only one lane going both direction. Several comments noted that most drivers do not adhere to the new limit, with many continuing to drive between 60 and 80, suggesting the limit does not match the natural flow of traffic. And residents argued that if it was safety, better engineering solutions such as longer merging lanes, traffic lights, and so forth would have been more effective than reducing the speed. Some believe that the new limit causes more dangers as it leads to drivers' frustration, erratic passing, and inconsistent speeds, and increases the risk of accidents. Few residents support the lower limit, emphasizing the need to protect residents, school buses, and accommodate future growth in the area. The lower speed limit is seen as a source of possible congestion and driver frustration, with some residents choosing alternate routes to avoid the area. And many feel there was insufficient public consultation before the change, and that the decision does not consider the actual traffic pattern or the needs of the community. So, in essence, my time's ran.
That is your time. Thanks for respecting that. Again, I do appreciate you making your report available to council ahead of time, so folks have had the opportunity to review that. I'll open the floor for questions or commentary. Councillor Monk of Swain.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Savard, for coming in. Maybe I'll just offer up a chance to maybe finish off there by asking the question. So thanks for doing the study. What were you hoping to achieve out of this and coming here today? What was the goal of being in front of council?
Well, at first,
Can you just put his mic on?
It was part of a course in project management. But as I saw the results, then I thought first I should come to council and provide the information. I promised those on Beaumont Talks that after I had spoken to council that I would provide those results as well to the community, so they will have those results as well. But I guess in the end, it's just information, try to find out the reasoning behind. I guess the engineer portion of me would love to see the reasoning behind that drop, especially since provincial tables in the guidelines show a little higher speeds than they're actually posted, and the road is probably designed for speeds between 90 and 110, the design portion of it. So I'm just curious to find out why 50, why so early? Because you go up to Edmonton and the same parameter road is 60, going, 50th Street going up and all the way around. So a lot of people are asking, and I'm one of those, and I would love to see the report, if there was one, of the recommendation and how it got recommended. I would have loved to see a phased approach to the speed limit reduction, whereas the subdivision increased and the volume of people increased, then the speed limit would naturally reduce that way. A significant drop with this kind of road will naturally bring this type of reply and response from individuals around the community. So in the end, if there's a way to bring the speed up to anywhere around 60 or 65 based on the responses as well, I think the population, the community at large in Beaumont would be a lot more responsive. And it would make it a lot easier for enforcement purposes. You know, when you get pulled over at 55 or 60 when you're used to doing 80, people don't quite understand why they're forced to go 50 kilometers.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, if the speed limit is to remain at 50 kilometers, I would maybe encourage council to reach out to the community, and even if it's on the website or something, or in the newspaper, and provide some indication, some information related to why they brought it down to 50 when they see all around them is at 60, all the way around Beaumont. The
Yep.
roads are at 60, so that's,
Thank you.
that's
for-
my gist.
Thank you for that. Just a quick follow-up, and council very aware of this. You can imagine how many calls, texts, emails we got around this issue. And just to clarify, and every one of our responses externally, and I'll say it here again, not council's job to set speed limits, right? Not in our purview, and not to pass the buck to administration, but that is a recommendation that administration makes. You'd asked for the detail on it. Not sure if today's the exact time to get into all the detail, but I wonder if there was a quick comment from administration around just the decision-making process around, not necessarily this particular road, but how administration goes in to assess it, and then if it was possible for the report that influenced those decisions to be shared. I'm not sure if
Thank you,
that's
Councillor
possible or not.
Monkhouse-Swain. I see CEO Schwartz would like to comment.
Yes, thank you very much. As we have made public and reported already in the process, around 50th Street and around setting any speed limit is done in consultation with a transportation engineering consultant, which adheres to professional and industry standards. We do not go out and seek public opinion to set the speed limits in our city. As the person legally responsible for setting those speed limits, I'm going to base them on a traffic impact assessment and real data and traffic engineers' recommendations. So we took all those things into account, and that's how we arrived at the 50 kilometer per hour. I will add that there will be a set of traffic lights going up at that intersection very shortly, which will again support the 50 kilometer hour decision. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO Schwartz. A little bit of a teaser there. I don't know if you're able to give us any more close of a timeline, like how soon is shortly, broadly speaking? I just ask because I think there would be lots of community interest on that front. Mr. Lewicki. Go ahead.
Through the chair, we're not certain on timelines for the lighting. I don't want to give any false impressions here, but at this point, we're looking at possibly spring or summer next year.
Appreciate that additional layer of clarity. I think the community will appreciate to have that too. I have Councillor Van Newkirk on my list next. Go ahead, Councillor Van Newkirk.
Yeah, thank you for putting the study together. Just wondering, was there any scope in that study to check in with city administration or a third-party engineer around, bringing those, I guess, facts to the conversation around how speed limits are developed? Was there any scope in your study for that?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, it was on.
No.
Yeah.
There weren't any because it was outside of the scope of the actual study for school. So I just stayed within that scope and developed this within that scope, and I decided after seeing the results that it would be a nice thing to come and share them with council.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought. Your scope was set and that was what you were working with, so that's great. Second question, can you tell from the responses if you received any specific responses from the folks that physically live in the Larev community? Could you tell that from the responses? No.
No, because
So it was just at-large responses?
in developing the survey, I was very careful of maintaining privacy for the respondents. So none of the responses catch where they are, who they are, and any private information. So it's only just general information.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you bringing this forward and providing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Van Newkirk. Councillor Natellenbos, you have the floor.
Perfect. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Savard, for your report. You had mentioned a couple people have chosen alternate routes. I'm a 34th Streeter now as well. So yeah, definitely something to consider. I do have a question though in terms of the traffic impact assessment. Obviously that's a core aspect of the decision that was made for the speed limit. Did you have a chance to review that, or did you happen to request a copy of that TIA?
I haven't seen the TIA.
Okay. Okay. And then I know Councillor Munkoff-Swain had mentioned there, ultimately what is the intention or the goal of the research and everything you've put forward. Are you able to further define what the end goal was, obviously beyond the educational aspect, but what you want to achieve or what you wanted to achieve as a result of all the research you've put forward?
I don't think there's any specific end goal. I just came to provide the study information because I thought you guys might be interested to have that information before it got also relayed publicly to the, through the survey as I did the survey. But
Okay, perfect, thank you. I do believe I put in a councillor inquiry, this would have been a few months ago, in regards to what it would take to get a reassessment. And I believe it was around the $26,000 mark to get another third-party engineering company to do another traffic impact assessment. So definitely something that we can consider down the road, but there is some cost associated with it. And I think it's important that everyone knows that as well. But yeah, I just want to share that, and I appreciate your research. Thank you.
although I did take a look at the transportation master plan for the city of Beaumont. And one of the tables, although the posted speed limit falls well within the arterial designation in the table of 40 to 70 kilometers an hour as designated in the transportation master plan, there has to be a safety base from whoever wrote the master plan, assessing and believing that speeds up to 70 kilometers in this type of format and parameter, road parameter, is actually safe. So there is room for movement, for speed increases based on the transportation master plan. Now the recommendation is just that, a recommendation. And I think the city officials have all the rights to accept those recommendations or to modify them as well, because that's all they are, recommendations. These regulated posted speed limits that we have presently north of 511 are within the Transportation Master Plan, and they're also within the Alberta Transportation Roadway Design Guidelines. Although the Alberta Transportation Roadway Design Guidelines post the speed limit, the acceptable speed limit for design purposes between 60 and 80 kilometers an hour for roads in that type of design parameter. This road, based on what I've seen in the tables, this road is designed for speed limits between 90 and 110 kilometers an hour. But it doesn't mean that the speed should be that. The design is just for these parameters. But there is some room to consider a possible increase, without having to go back, because it's in the master plan and it's in the Alberta Transportation Guide.
Perfect, thank you. Just one, appreciate that additional information. Just one quick follow-up question. Did you have the opportunity to speak with any law enforcement officials just in regards to their thoughts around the speed?
This council is the first group that I've spoken about.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks.
I wanted to
Councilor Natellenbos.
respect that this information would come here to the council first before going and spreading it out and catching you guys on the back end. That wouldn't be right and it wouldn't be fair.
Very much appreciate that. It seems to me that you could have easily done this school assignment with a narrow focus that would have only benefited yourself, and instead you chose to take a topic on that might generate some conversation and maybe benefit your community. So appreciate the community spirit you show in that, and the respect that you just spoke of certainly comes through loud and clear in your presentation and in your report. So thank you for your time today.
You're welcome.
Madam Clerk, do we have our second registered person for open forum? Is Colin Hatch in attendance at this stage? It doesn't sound like. So we'll give him one last opportunity to come in. I did jump over our adoption of the minutes of the May 20th, 2025 Committee of the Whole minutes in our agenda. So if we could just go back to that briefly. And if I have a councillor willing to move the adoption of those minutes, just in the interest of time, I move that the May 20th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes be adopted as presented. And could we open the voting, please? Thank you. The motion carries 7-0. And try to make arrangements with Mr. Hatch to register for another night. And we will move on in our agenda to item 5.1. Operating and Major Projects Grants Process Survey. And I believe it's Ms. Cuthbert presenting on behalf of administration. If you could just push your button so I can see where you're at. Item Mike 7. Thank you, Ms. Cuthbert. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. Good evening, committee. This evening I have an informational report for you on the operating and major project grant process. I'd like to go through the report, then invite a few of our guests to share their experience on the grant process, and then we can take questions after. Council Policy C52 Municipal Grant Fund Program was approved January 23rd, 2024. The 2025 grant applications were facilitated throughout 2024, making the first intake under the city's new Operating and Major Project Grant Program. The application process, June 2024, was a deadline for the expression of interest submissions. In August 2024, eligible applicants were notified and invited to submit final applications. September 10th, final application deadline. October 15th, 2024, eligible applicants presented their funding request to Council. November 28, 2024, Council considered funding allocations during the annual budget deliberations and chose to reconvene in January for a final decision. January 2025, Administration presented funding recommendations to Council, and on January 28, 2025, Council approved the grant allocations for 2025 through till 2027 for the multi-year operating grants. A survey was sent to all applicants of the major and operating grant intake for 2025. We had 3 respondents. The survey results are attached to this report. The feedback was a bit diverse. Some were aware of the program, some learned about it through our website. Some thought the guidelines were clear. Some reported that there was some confusion. It was clear that the number of applications made the process repetitive and cumbersome. One received direct one-on-one support, one attended the virtual meeting. Respondents did feel that the multi-year funding was beneficial to them. However, the amount awarded was less than requested and did not meet their operational needs. There was some suggested improvements, streamlining the applications, clarifying eligibility rules, and reconsidering how operational costs for key community facilities are supported. Planned improvements are already in place for 2026 grant process. One key change is that funding applications will be separated. We're also revisiting the application format to make it easier for applicants to focus on more essential information in each section. In addition, we're developing more straightforward guidelines and an evaluation rubric. The rubric will be shared with applicants in advance so they understand how their submissions will be reviewed and scored. Due to timing, we're not able to implement all the changes we would like. In the following year, we will combine the general and the EOI application to eliminate duplication. We'll also take feedback from this year's intake to evaluate what more we can do to streamline the process and provide support for the applicants. At this time, I'd like to invite a few of our applicants to speak and share on their experience with you directly. Each speaker has been given up to 5 minutes to speak. First up to speak will be Jill Monroe with Excel Artistic Swimming.
Thank you for being with us this evening, Ms. Monroe. Go ahead, you have the floor.
Now. Okay, so I am a parent volunteer. I'm the Director of Revenue for our Artistic Swim Club. We have a branch in Beaumont, and last year, in the process, we applied for an operating grant for 3 years. We were accepted after our EOI and our general application. This is a lot. The actual applications, we understand that it's a gift to get this money, and we should have to work for it, definitely. I think we got some great help with it when we were missing things or didn't quite have something. It was like, oh, you forgot to hand this in, or we did get a little bit of feedback as we were working on it. We submitted our grants, we made it through, we presented here in front of the board last year, the council last year. I think in creating the big, once we made it past the EOI and the general grant, the writing of the specific grant is quite time consuming and difficult because we are a volunteer organization. We don't have professional grant writers. I'm not a professional grant writer, I'm just a parent. But I think we're in our club's mind, we were doing really focused work for our Beaumont athletes, specifically for our Beaumont athletes. We are a club in 2 cities. I think, because we've submitted another one this year, I think it would be really lovely for us, or nice for me, because I'm the writer, if the culling of grant applications at the EOI and general application process happened much more stringently. And that way, because at that time, you already know what people are asking for. You already know sort of what the scope of dollars are that you have and the vast needs that you have as a small community and supporting so many people. So I think it would have been nice early on to be said, you know what, no, we just don't have the money for it this year. Please try next year. Please, we're looking for maybe more of this instead. Would mean that I could then focus my attentions on other grants that are looking at funds for future years or at future projects. So I think as much as I hate having no, and I get no's, lots, or we have this much, maybe a harder cutoff with the EOI would be great. Or if grant applications go through to the second round, maybe there's a consolation prize. Okay, well, you didn't get $10,000, but we'll give you $500 to throw towards. I realize that might not be great for anybody else, but that would fund one swimmer for perhaps even a year, right? Or part of a year of their swimming program if they're competitive. And if they're in the pre-competitive program, that would cover a few swimmers. Not cover them, but decrease their costs substantially so that they could continue to swim in Beaumont. So I guess that's my feedback. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of blathering. But I've learned a lot with this process, and there's a lot of information that I have to ask my board members for when I'm creating those applications, and I feel like I'm a little bit invasive because I'm saying, okay, so who are you? Where do you work? I need all of this specific information, personal information that I share in those applications. And we're all just working for the benefit of our kids. And I think it's critical. I know artistic swimming is it's not food, it's not anything like that, but it's for those kids that love to swim and don't feel like they're going to be good. They're not going to be dancers. They don't want to fit into the dance world, and they don't just want to swim laps, and swimming lessons aren't good for them. So artistic swimming is just something a little bit different that incorporates art and music and strength and beauty all in one thing with water safety. And I think, I'm thankful. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Amanda, and the team that we've worked with over the years, because they have reached out and have asked for our feedback, and I think that's been wonderful.
Thank you for taking the opportunity to present tonight, Ms. Munro. One of the pieces of feedback that I wrote down is maybe a bit counterintuitive to us. I think we we would generally tend to think we want to give everybody an equal chance, right? But it's helpful to hear that it might be actually advantageous to get to a no or a yes a little quicker in the process and not string people along. So that's not, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but that's kind of what I took away from it. Are there any other questions from Councillor Natellenbos?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Obviously, that funding's critical for so many sports and activities and arts groups. It's critical that we have these funds available. What I did get from it, Councillor Penrod touched on a couple things, but on the positive side, you had mentioned that there was support and guidance throughout the process, and that was a positive. So that's good to hear. I know myself, in previous roles, I've had to fill out similar applications, and it's time consuming and can be a bit confusing. So it's good that we have the guidance and support there. Second side of things, you had mentioned about maybe a tighter timeline, as Councillor Penrod had mentioned. But the third that you had mentioned is just potentially simplifying the application process. Am I correct in
Well, they're,
saying that?
at the EOI stage, and I think Amanda's talked about it, they're going to join the EOI and the general grant application form. Those will be joined, which will mean I'm finding fewer documents, or I'm saying, oh, shoot, I forgot all about that. I did my EOI, but I totally forgot about this one. It'll have that nicely put together. And then if there are small adjustments to be made, we can definitely do that and resubmit, but the document is already in existence. And then when we move to the longer scale application form, once you get to that second one, then you're breaking down your budgets and you're really being quite specific and trying to hit the strategic goals of the community, of the council in developing opportunities within the city of Beaumont. And so we really, we do take a lot of time in really trying to focus specifically on that and make sure that we're hitting your targets with our work as well, because it needs to be coordinated and we need to work together, or we're throwing money at and it's not useful. So I think a coordinated effort and working together along with your strategic plan to build opportunities for kids within the community, it's really important. I mean, from a health and safety perspective, from a policing perspective, from a community wellness perspective, I think it's important. And so sport is important. We don't have any, there are so few opportunities for artistic swimming within our Edmonton and area. Our club has little programs in St. Albert and in Beaumont and here, and we also practice in Sherwood Park. We buy time at pools in Sherwood Park. But we've been swimming out of Beaumont for more than a decade. So we would love to keep building our programming, and one of our Beaumont athletes just actually won gold and bronze at the Canadian Games in March.
Wonderful. I do have two more questions to get to you. Councillor McCook, you were in and out. I saw you in, so I'll go to you next, and then to Councillor Barnhart.
Thank you. I was in and out. Councillor Natellenbos covered one of my questions, so I didn't have to pop back in on that. But just to yourself and everyone here, I think government processes are rarely perfect, and often it's because we're trying to, meet a range of needs with a certain set of tools. But what matters is our commitment to making it better, and so I really appreciate you and everyone else who's going to speak tonight to come out and give your feedback, because it's so important, and this is how change happens. We don't know what we don't know until somebody tells us. So thank you for everyone who put forward their written submissions, and for whoever's here this evening. It's helpful, your time, your honesty, all that stuff, and thank you to your commitment to your organization as well. But I think other than that, is there any specific change that you maybe had not mentioned that you would recommend to make the application process a little bit more smoother or more efficient? Or is it just that kind of EOI piece that you mentioned?
You know what, I have to say, I love the opportunity to submit an EOI, because I think that it makes us think, what do we want? Let's get that in. Let's see if there's any any appetite whatsoever for this. Before we put in hours to put in a large application, there are a number of options with your grant to fund in different manners and different areas of focus. I love that. So I actually really appreciate that part. I think one of the things that was tricky for us and for me, because it was only my first year on the board writing grant applications, it might have even been one of my first ones, was not really understanding that I'm applying now, but the funding isn't coming till after Christmas. We're
Right.
looking at starting 2025 for 3 consecutive years and trying to figure out how do we fund programs or support programs, especially families that are struggling to stay in programming when the funds aren't coming, and then the delay to January. I was like, I don't even know what else I should apply for right now because I don't want to overlap funds.
Right.
So that, I love the EOI. I think it's great. I would
Shorten up the process.
I think I would I would shorten those timelines, and I would say a harder cut right at the beginning.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Councillor Barnhart, you have the last question.
Thank you. You opened a door that I really wanted to see open, and that is the criteria that's needed in order to get to that place that you're talking about, the hard yes or no earlier on. And I think that's to do with the eligibility criteria, again, of like who can qualify for it, given that the money isn't as much as we need for all of the organizations we have in our community. So I wonder if you've given any thought to what that criteria might be, and I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but you might have some ideas there in terms of what would be a way, if council has a tough time when all of them are valuable applications that are coming forward. Is there anything that comes to mind for you that you think, well, are there criteria that we should look at as a priority?
Thank you. I feel like supporting needy families in need, but kids, if we can't keep them involved and engaged, we need things that are kid-focused, that are getting them in supported, supervised, safe activities that keeps them engaged and in a healthy, nurturing community so that they have less opportunity to get themselves involved in things that are maybe a little bit more nefarious. I was a former junior high school teacher, so my junior high kids, when they didn't have those parameters, sometimes the wheels went off. I was a child of this town of St. Albert, and we ran wild. So, until the pool opened in the summertime, and we were all there, which is the only time we had that pool, there wasn't a lot of structure, and there wasn't a lot of oversight for our activities. I feel like your sports and wellness center is incredible. It's a great center. The more opportunities we have for bringing kids in and keeping them engaged and building that wellness connection within community is really important. So food, yes. Housing and safety, yes. Sport and wellness and mental health, they all really go together. So I'd love to see there be a little bit of room that in school we would say it's the wraparound supports that keep kids in school, academically achieving, and families strong.
Really do appreciate that. It does sound like you want to line up with strategies and criteria that council might have in mind when those grants come forward. So
Yeah,
I think
not
that's
just
something
sport, but it has to be
in
something
general,
that's.
I hear you. I do appreciate that. Thank you for coming in. I know it takes extra time and energy to do that, and I do appreciate that. Thank you.
And I'll just go beyond that to say thank you for your work with our youth, the youth that you work with in our community, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time tonight. Ms. Cuthbert, I think I have on my list next up Ms. Hudson from the Beaumont and District Heritage Society. Thank you.
Yes.
If you want to come forward, please, Ms. Hudson. You have the floor.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to report on our experience with the grant program. We appreciate the existence of the community grant program that we received $10,000 for the year of 2025, and it's going to cover some of our expenses for this year, of our operating expenses. We were dismayed, though, that we did not receive the requested 15,000 and that we will only be receiving 8,000 in 2026 and 6,000 in 2027. In preparation for the house to be moved and the land needed to be rezoned from municipal reserve to public recreation service, community center. From that time forward, we have received $15,000 each year to cover operating costs. Only when the house was to be moved did the society begin to receive this funding that City Council agreed upon in 2012. As the city decided to upgrade the process in which community groups receive funding, we were informed that we were now required to fill out these new forms, include detailed information, and make formal reports to council. This, we believe, is a good improvement, but this new process created a concern among our members. The financial assistance required to keep the lights on, the museum heated, have access to water, insurance coverage, security system paid, and so forth, it was no longer guaranteed as it used to be. The Beaumont and District Heritage Society volunteers have worked really hard to provide the City of Beaumont with something that it never truly ever invested in, its heritage. Time and time again, our heritage component always received our lowest marks in heritage preservation and promotion from the Communities in Bloom judges. I was involved from 2002 until our very last year that we were enrolled with Communities in Bloom. This is the reason why I suggested all those years ago to save the Saint Jacques House and form the Heritage Society. It is our belief that the operating costs for this community center, our museum, should be a budget line item, like the library, like the youth center, like the cemetery, and so forth. Under our care, it will cost the city less to manage it. As long as the Heritage Society receives guaranteed financial support from the city, we will not have to worry about the ability to continue to serve our community. If we receive this guaranteed funding, of course, we will gladly provide yearly reports on our expenditures and anything else that the city requires, because this is the partnership. Fact, to complete the landscaping last year, install an adequate parking lot, the walkway, complete proper site elevations, bring in plant material and sod. It all came together, but there was a cost. It was much more than the $45,000 that we asked from the city and the $77,000 matching grant for the walkway that we received, and what we had left in our bank account. Classic Landscape donated all the plant material, which was $5,000 value. Qualico Homes provided the needed topsoil and labor. We have no idea how much this cost them. Thank goodness we had many individuals who helped pay our portion of the walkway by having their names engraved. On Thanksgiving Day, I had an unexpected call from Camille. He and Joanne offered to pay for sod with a donation of $7,000. We didn't have any money for that. Our bank account was low. In October, to get us through the winter, I made a personal $10,000 donation. It gave us wiggle room to wait for the city contribution in January. This ties into those timelines that our former speaker spoke of, and to continue to pay the bills. The insurance is a big cost, and it was due in November. We will always need to fundraise, that is true. We will have necessary repairs. We also want to provide programming for school classes, families, residents, and visitors in Beaumont. The Saint Jacques Heritage House is a tourist attraction. We can bring people to Beaumont. Applying for grants from the province require us to claim that we have support from our municipality. We are grateful for the grant assistance, but we feel that it is not the right program for us to receive the funding assistance, and it could open it up to other groups. Having said that, if our operating costs do not become a budget item, we are definitely going to have to continue to apply to survive.
Thank you. And I think you might have rehearsed that because you're right on the 5 minutes.
I had to cut some lines out.
Well, we'll see if anyone has any questions for you, and maybe they can give the opportunity to finish your comments. Thank you for the very clear presentation. I think decision or discussion around that ask of a dedicated budget line is beyond the purview of our meeting tonight.
Yes.
But we would like to ask you a few questions. Councillor Van Newkirk.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, Carol, and thank you for all that you do. You have mentioned the word museum a few times in there, and I'm just wondering, is the St. Jacques Heritage House, a recognized, registered museum in Alberta?
Well, we are registered with the Alberta Municipal Museum Association.
Yep.
We do consider ourselves a museum. And we also had 3 curators from the Royal Alberta Museum who came to the house about 6 weeks ago, 3 of them. And we visited for 3 hours. They considered us a museum, and they are looking to us to help them if they go ahead with a 2-year presentation at the Royal Alberta Museum, sharing stories of French in Alberta, and so they've approached us. And one of the curators was eyeing a couple of the trunks we have upstairs in the boys and girls room, because they're hoping to get access to this to help tell the story of settlers in Alberta. So yeah, we consider ourselves a museum.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Van Newkirk. Councillor Tellenbos.
Perfect. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Again, Carol, thank you for all you do. I know a lot of hours have gone into what is there now, and appreciate it. Just a quick question in regards to potentially alternate funding, and what I mean by that is there's definitely a lot of opportunity there. I almost see like a boardroom set up in the basement. Are there any opportunities to rent that out to maybe some groups and get some funding through those kind of methods, or even an admission concept? Have we explored anything like that just to help with some of the funding?
Yes, you are not aware of it, but we have been renting out our room, and we had it rented out again last night. Mostly it's been the Beaumont and District Agricultural Society. So they had another meeting there last night. We rented out for $40 an hour. We did have at least one town meeting, or a couple town meetings there in the past, just testing things out. We had a teacher communicate with me after the grand opening and wanted to bring the grade 1s from Bow Meadows School to come for a tour, and they were scheduled for today and tomorrow, but then at the last minute she had to cancel. And so we've agreed upon that what we would do is we would charge $1 per student. And so they're going to plan on doing that in the fall. And I will be approaching all of the schools and giving them the opportunity to start thinking about it when fall comes, because it is our intention to have tours, to have all kinds of things happening. But it's not a guaranteed income, and it's not going to keep the lights on or heat the house or any of those basic things. And to understand about it, the house is, we own the house until we fall apart. If we fall apart in the 10-year lease that we signed with the city in 2018, it becomes the property of the city of Beaumont. And then the city of Beaumont will be paying the same things that we're asking for. And you'll be paying more, much more. We feel that we've been very frugal and very helpful to the community to fill a gap that has been here for years and years. As the second highest per capita in earnings in the province, it has always been, to me, an embarrassment that we didn't have anything like this, when you have much smaller communities that invest in their heritage. And this is just for the operating costs. I know in the past it's been discussed, all this money we asked for the parking lot and for the walkway and all this other kind of stuff. That's done. It's over. It's finished. We are going to continue to fundraise. We want to have a nice, healthy bank account and offer all kinds of stuff, but we have to keep the lights on, because if we don't, we have to hand it over to the city. And our group will fall apart. And so, and I don't think it's fair that other community groups can't have access to the money that we're requesting in this particular program. There's a lot of really good groups out there. So if we can just get this sorted out, that's my answer.
Perfect, thank you. And then quick question, just in regards to the whole process. Obviously, that's the conversation we're having around the operating and major projects grants process. What was your thoughts in terms of the process itself?
I agreed with the last speaker. It took a while, and we thought we were even going to get the final answer before the end of the year. And that's one of the reasons I had to put $10,000 into our bank account, because we didn't have the money to, we have to pay like almost $4,000 for insurance for the site. which the city will also have to pay if they take it over. So we're just helping the city out. And so, yeah, the process was a little lengthy.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That's a piece that's definitely on the radar of mayor and council, is to be aware that some of our decisions actually delayed the announcement of those funds. So that's a piece that some of this is beyond what we control, but that's a piece we can definitely improve from within this group. So Councillor Barnhart, you're on a roll tonight. Last question.
Yep, thank you very much, and thanks again, Carol. I know how much you put into this, blood, sweat, and tears, and I really do appreciate that, what you're doing. My questions are twofold. One is about the provincial grants, and just, can you give me some idea, give council some idea of how much is available for museums, if anything?
I understand there's probably a lot out there. The only thing that we really are going to need in the near future is we want to paint the stucco on the outside. That's something we could probably raise funds locally anyways. If we want to do serious programming, back in 2012, City Council asked us how much it would cost to have a person hired to do programming. And we looked into it, and for other communities, it was $45,000. So City Council in those days knew darn well that if we were to try to go that route, we would be coming to the city for another $45,000 for programming. But that's way in the future. And maybe it will never be needed if we have enough volunteers.
That was my second question. Volunteers, can you perhaps point to something we, council or the administration, could do to help find volunteers to do the work that you're doing? Because I know a lot of it seems to fall on you.
We're still working on it. None of us are experienced in any of this. But we do have on our website a couple of forms that have been put there, Google Docs, that people can sign up. I'm going to continue to encourage school teachers and students and family members. As they come to the house, I always ask them to help. And there's a lot of people that do want to help. And so we're just going to keep plugging away at it.
Okay.
All we really want is to keep the lights on and the house heated. And if we don't have to worry about that, we can do a lot.
Okay.
So
Appreciate that. Thank you, Carol.
And by the way, we did bring CBC and Global News. We did do that. Because there's an interest outside, and the city should be doing more to advertise the heritage. And I looked on the website, and I typed in the word history, and I was surprised by some of the things that came up. You can do a much better job in talking about our history, especially 5 communities in the world that are also named Beaumont. We don't need to share that. We need to talk about us. And in the municipal development plan, I got arrows all over here as to the things that we fulfill in the plan, but you got to do more than just write it. You got to actually help you do it. So that's my final word. Thanks.
Help us help you. That's what I'm writing in my notes.
Yes,
from your presentation.
absolutely. Thank
Appreciate
you very
all
much.
you do. Thank you.
And I'm going to go watch the hockey game now.
We missed saying this last time, so no spoilers. We'll just say that out loud. So in case anyone is taping tonight, Ms. Holt, if you'd like to come forward. I believe you're our last presenter. You have the floor.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to come and speak on this. So to share a little bit about who I am, so my name is Catherine Hott, and I am a past president of the Beaumont Chamber of Commerce, currently the president of Empowering Women Entrepreneurs. I also have my own company. I'm the chief learning officer and founder of Hott Consulting and Training, and I just recently wrote a book, Texting to Talking: How to Disconnect to Reconnect. So I highly support what the first speaker talked about engaging our youth. Now, I've spent most of my adult life volunteering for many organizations, starting in Ontario and now, of course, here in Alberta. And I've volunteered with business associations, I've volunteered with chambers, women's groups, youth groups, you name it. I have volunteered my whole life. As I said, I'm currently the past president of the chamber, and also now coming to you and representing empowering women entrepreneurs. I also am on the leadership council with Edmonton Global as well. First and foremost, EWE has a great appreciation for this grant. We receive $5,000 annually for 5 years, or sorry, for 3 years, $5,000 for 3 years, and we're thankful for this grant, and we do appreciate the support. As you're already aware, we do run a volunteer organization as well. We are a volunteer board, and we run on volunteer hours, and so any opportunity to streamline, consolidate, basically make things easier is, of course, welcomed, and it helps us a lot. Some suggestions have already been mentioned. Some suggestions for improving the process with both the general application and, of course, the specific grant application. It is a duplication of effort and time-consuming. If there's an opportunity to streamline that, which it sounds like there is, then that would be great. Similarly, managing the deadlines. If you give us enough time, and reporting requirements could be simplified. After submitting, we have received requests for more detailed information, which then sometimes, we feel maybe it seems redundant, or maybe we already put that in there, but it also takes time to go back and review and then resubmit, so that takes time. Other things to keep in mind, costs are rising dramatically. So whether this is the facility costs, contracted services, rentals, supplies, whatever it may be, all of those costs are up. I think everybody knows that. And this is an additional strain on us to be able to keep our membership affordable. Even with the grant, we're still relying on a majority of volunteers, and not everything can be sponsored or provided through in-kind donations. And this is becoming more and more challenging each year to get sponsors and donations of any kind. Speaking of volunteers, we are finding it more difficult to attract volunteers for events committees or even for our board. We're challenged to find the time ourselves to advertise, recruit, and meet up and interview some of these positions, and everyone is busy. If the city could assist in helping us promote the value of volunteering to get more people engaged, this would help. And some ideas, and these are really just ideas I jotted down, but potentially host an event like a trade show that specifically focuses on volunteer groups, have a speaker that shares the importance of volunteering, the benefits, how it can help your career or add to your portfolio, volunteer job descriptions, how and when to recruit, applications and screening, and maybe offer an incentive to join these groups. If you sign up as a volunteer with a group, then you're entered in for a door prize. I don't know, something along those lines. Potentially list local groups on the city website that need volunteers, like a job board, maybe. Share that not all volunteers need to volunteer in person. They can be at-home positions like social media, graphic design, IT support. Host monthly, quarterly, and/or annual events just for volunteers. Could be a simple coffee and cake or wine and cheese. Make them feel like they're part of a special group, one that is valued for all the hours that they put in. And maybe a yearly event that offers several awards, not just one award, in categories like length of service, leadership, mentorship, those kinds of things, like the Stars of Alberta Volunteer Award, something of that type. And as a completely volunteer-run organization, we struggle like many groups in the city. It's hard to get ahead of things. Just when you think you're getting ahead, then things change, and then we're back to square one. So EWE is still going strong, but we do need more hands, more time in the day, and always more money to ensure that the caliber of the events we are hosting is of great quality to our members and our guests. A couple of events we've got coming up right now. We have our AGM coming up, annual general meeting next Wednesday, June 25th at 6:30, and our special guest is actually Councillor McCook, who's going to be our special guest, speaking on leading through uncertain times, women as disruptors of the future. And of course, we have our Beaumont Night Market coming up on September 27th. We want to showcase Canada, and so our Canadian pride. So it's called Glowing Hearts, Truth, North Strong is our theme this year. And I have that's our new logo.
Perfect.
Beaumont Night Market.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and again, well prepared and rehearsed, right on the 5-minute mark. Council, do we have any questions or commentary? I'm not seeing anyone queued up, so I'll thank you. I have lots of notes from your presentation. Appreciate that, and I'll go to Councillor McCook.
I know we're trying to get to the game. Just a quick question. thank you for coming and for the clarity in your presentation. Just which part of the application process was most challenging for your organization?
Well, I'm the advisor on these grant applications. Our treasurer actually does the application, but we work together, and of course we work on it together. It is very long. Even if, and I know it always sounds silly, but even if you can make it, I don't know, 2 pages, 3 pages, when it gets to like 5, 6, 7, 8 pages, I mean, I don't know, make the font smaller, I don't know, make it seem like it's shorter, but it's such a long time to get all that information together. It really is. And if you could just combine the two and maybe have a look at, is all that information absolutely necessary? Maybe it is. I don't know, but it takes a long time to do it.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
And thanks again.
Thank you.
Ms. Cuthbert, did you have any closing remarks to your report?
Closing remarks, just if there's any questions.
Are there any questions from council for administration on this matter? Councillor Van Newkirk.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Question through to administration around those who didn't participate in the survey. Can council be provided with a list of those who didn't participate? We've heard, the list who did participate was short. I would like to have the data from the reciprocal of that. Is that possible?
I can provide you the list of all the applicants. We don't have the exact specific list of the people that responded to the survey. I think you can tell by the survey, you can probably figure it out. So why don't I just send you the whole list of all the applicants?
That would be helpful, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Natellenbas.
Thank you. I guess quick question for Ms. Cuthbert here, just in regards to this process. Obviously, we're getting some feedback. What are next steps? We've heard some concerns, some issues, and also some positive. How are we collecting this data and what are we doing with it?
Yes, thank you for the question. So we have started making some changes for the current process that we're in right now, which is for 2026. So I think, like I said, we did start looking at that final application. So at this point in time, it's too late to change the general application and the EOI. That deadline is passed. We do have the final application that will be due in September. So we're trying to tweak some of those things and change some of those things. Part of the part where it's very, very long is we had one application and it had 2 applications in it. It had the projects in there and the operating grant. So it was a 20-page document before you even started filling it out. So the first thing is we broke that out. So when people apply for their EOI, we'll go through, check for eligibility, and then you'll only get the application that you need to apply for. So that will help with, kind of getting rid of a few of those pages. We are also trying to change a few of those questions in the requirement information. So we're collecting really valuable information so that people can make some decisions on evaluation. So we don't want it to just be fluff and to waste people's time to be collecting that. So we are trying to streamline that final application. And then for the following year, so fast forward a year, we will change that EOI and general application to combine them both. So it'll just take us a little while to get there with only being once a year intake.
Perfect, thank you. And just one last question. In terms of ability to submit, do we have a full electronic version or is it more of a PDF we're printing off, we're filling out, and we have to submit by hand?
Yes, thank you. It is the second one you agreed to. It is a fillable form. So we are trying to explore this year on what that looks like to getting a fillable form. We have research software, which looks like a great option as well. The fillable form, where the challenge is, because we would really like to move that way, sounds simple, upload the form. The problem is you can't come back to it. So with the forms, with the software that we're currently using right now through Microsoft, you can't log into it, save the form. Once you open it, you have to fill it all out. And as you've heard, there is a link, there's a lot of information that they have to input there. I would hate for them to have to start inputting it and then they lose it. So that's where our struggle is right at the moment. Doesn't mean it's a stop sign. We're trying to look at some other options, how we can get that digital, say for the next go around. We're just not there at the moment.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Natellenbas. Councillor Bernhardt.
Thank you very much, Chair. Ms. Cuthbert, just a question about 2026 and 2027, because it was my understanding all of the money had not been used up. So when you said the EOI and the request for proposals, or whatever other acronyms you had, was passed, I don't understand that. How can it be passed for 2026? Or am I just missing the dates here?
Yeah, so when the funding was all approved, there was a few multi-year funding. Am I understanding your question correctly? So council did approve to fund for 2025, 2026, 2027. So a portion of the funds have been committed for those 3 years. So the total funds have not been committed. So this year, council will be receiving another intake of major and operating grant applications.
So that deadline has passed, is what you're saying?
The EOI deadline has passed.
For 2026, and
Correct.
then there will be a similar time the following year in 2020.
Correct. Yes.
That'll still be in the 3 years, and then there'll have to be another major grant application for, well, who knows what. That's way down the road, but there will be another
Intakes
opportunity.
every year we are expecting, yes.
But there's only a little bit of the funding left for 26 and 27.
Yeah.
You have any idea of the amounts that's left in the pot?
I think looking at the amounts that have been funded over the years, I think I do have some numbers here. So for 2025, there was $130,000 allocated. For 2026, $109,000 was allocated, and for 2027, $83,000. So not a lot left. Of course, council has that opportunity to have some of those conversations amongst themselves during the budget process.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate the clarification.
Thank you, Councillor Barnhart, and thank you, Ms. Cuthbert, for the solid report. We look forward to continuing to improve this process. Thanks for your work on it. With that, we come to item number 5.2 in our agenda, Infrastructure Department update. Nope, wrong mic. Can you just push your button for me so I can see number 6? There you go, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Mayor, members of Council, and members of the public. My name is Aaron Lewicki, Director of Infrastructure. Tonight, I'm here to present the 2025 Q1 update for the Infrastructure Department. I have with me here tonight the Infrastructure Management Team that includes Ryan Anders, Manager of Engineering and Environment, Ryan Orvlosky, Manager of Utilities and Facility Operations, in the center here, and Charles Conroy, Acting Manager of Municipal Projects. Bryce Picentini, Manager of Parks and Roads Operations, was unable to join us tonight. The Infrastructure Department is comprised of 4 service areas, including Parks and Roads Operations, Utility and Facility Operations, Engineering and Environment, and Municipal Projects. These areas are responsible for operating and maintaining the city's most critical infrastructure, including roads, trails, facilities, parks, utility infrastructure, transit, fleet, as well as providing support and oversight of development projects, transportation and traffic safety updates, and environmental, regulatory, and sustainability efforts. The department also manages the delivery of most of the city's capital projects. In this presentation, I will summarize some of the trends observed from the data collected and analyzed, identify the challenges the department is currently facing, and the actions the department is taking to address these challenges. With an increasing focus on data tracking and analysis, our team is able to identify important trends to enhance strategic business planning and promote informed decision-making. An analysis of the data presented herein provides some insight into the challenges the department is facing, as well as the amazing job the team is doing to manage workloads and pressures to meet service levels. 3 major trends have observed from the data collected, and they include the growth of the city's asset base, which includes annual increases of 15% in transportation and parks, 177% in alleyways, 2% in fleet inventory, 4 to 6% for water and wastewater assets, increasing operational costs for repairs and maintenance due to aging infrastructure, growth and inflationary pressures, which includes 8% increase in facility repairs, as well as parts and servicing costs, 50% increase in facility service requests, and an 8% increase in fleet repairs and escalations in repairs and fuel costs. Increasing volume and effort includes 26 to 67% increase from 23 to 24 in applications, agreements, inspections, reviews, and permits. And finally, 20 projects at a value of $6.7 million in 2022 increased to 37 projects in 2025 at a value of $18 million. With asset growth, increased operational costs, and volume of work come significant challenges that the infrastructure department must manage. These challenges include continued and rapid growth, aging infrastructure, inflationary pressures, limited funding for operational demands, community pressure to meet current service level commitments, approved budgets do not accurately reflect the actual cost to deliver service, and service delivery results in budget shortfalls and/or service level gaps. These challenges impact the infrastructure department's ability to deliver services and meet the needs and expectations of residents. Our team continues to evolve and manage these challenges through building a positive team culture that promotes staff empowerment, innovative problem solving, accountability, and collaboration. Actions the department is taking to manage these challenges include prioritization of data tracking and analysis to enhance strategic business planning and promote informed decision-making, maintaining service levels on an increasing asset base through extended staff hours, leveraging efficiencies, and developing innovative solutions, clarification of services offered and associated costs through the level of service review that is currently underway, and finally, completion of an asset management strategy review, which is currently underway to aid in clarification of requirements to improve the city's asset management program and ensure long-term sustainability for the city. While the infrastructure department has been able to maintain service levels a majority of the time with mostly fixed budgets since 2019, there are limited opportunities to find further efficiencies or cost containment. Continued year-over-year rapid growth, aging infrastructure, and inflationary pressures continue to strain the city's resources and budget. Failing to adequately support operations, as well as renewal and growth capital improvements, will adversely impact service delivery efforts. Approved budgets need to accurately reflect the actual cost of delivering services to avoid budget shortfalls and/or service level gaps. That concludes our presentation. Thank you for your attention, and we will now take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Lewicki. Report that this is a bit of a pass at what will become a more regular reporting to council. And that's a noted, a general trend across administration just to build more awareness and information and transparency. The community is asking for that, and this is administration responding to that ask. So I want to say thank you for that. And then we'll come to Mr. Councillor Van Newkirk for first question.
Yeah, I've got a couple comments and 2 or 3 questions here, Chair. So, yeah, thanks to administration for exactly what Phil said. You know, this is a great, reset, first stab, newest stab at an update like this, and I think it's good. What it's missing isn't stats and numbers. I think the evolution of this now is going to be some visuals and maps to communicate what all this means to the community. So I think that's the task at hand next, to make this relatable, right? And the 2 words associated with that are storytelling, right? We need to be able to connect this story to community growth and to the approved annual budget. I think that's where we collectively failed in our past budget, is we did not do a good job telling the story of growth. We have this much more of this much more of that, and that's why the department here is asking for this department. So this is our opportunity to reset some of that conversation. So when it comes to some of those visuals, the trend, in the trend slide, it says, transportation infrastructure up, parks and associated parks assets. I think those are like dedicated examples where there's a 2024 map and a 2025 map. Here's the difference, right? Here's all the red we've added, and it's this many kilometers and all that. And I know we funded, Geotab in the last budget, which gives you even more data on top of this once it's all in around, how many kilometers did we mow and all that good stuff. So I'm really looking forward to the increased ability for us to tell that story to the community. So I'll pause there. 2 project-specific questions. The BSRC air conditioning project. So in a couple of the smoky days this year, I noticed that the air was a whisker more smoky inside the field house than I'd experienced before. So by the time we, get air conditioning in the field house, that's going to move more air and filter more air. Is there an anticipation that air movement is going to help maybe take some of the smokiness that can happen in that big space out? The other parts of the building, I don't feel that because I think the air is already moving. Any comment on that?
Through the chair to Councillor Van Newkirk, I know that there's, sorry, I'm just looking here. There will be filters that will be included as part of the project that will help control the air or improve the air quality. Now, to what degree, I'm not sure, but we should expect some level of improvement.
Yeah, that's kind of what I expected, right? Like we're doing something that's going to be better. There's going to be some filters changed. So just wanted to acknowledge that because, there was some comments I'd received around that, and I assured people that there was some air movement coming. So that's good. Second question. Just wondering if you can explain why the delay on the design for 510, 241. We're doing the 510 and 243, 510 and 50th Street designs. The idea at budget was to do all three, get some economies of scale. Did we run out of money? Did we run out of contractors? Like what happened here? Why are we canceling one of these when at budget the intent was to put all three together to get some economies of scale?
Through the chair to Councillor Van Newkirk, thanks for the question. It's a good question. Essentially, it came down to a factor of funding. We were able to do two of the projects within our budget. Obviously, we have to bring that back to council. We just haven't had a chance. But we prioritize the two intersections that need to be done first. The 241 and 510 intersection is quite a ways out versus the other two. Of course, it was our plan to try to do all three together and do the entire corridor. We couldn't accommodate that within the budget we had.
Yeah. Okay, fair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Van Newkirk. Councillor McCook, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to start first by acknowledging the sheer volume and complexity of the work that your department does and is constantly managing. You guys have been operating at full tilt with limited resource, and I just want to say that hasn't gone unnoticed from my perspective. A couple questions. With budgets not aligning to actual delivery costs, how is administration identifying which service levels to prioritize and which, I don't know if risks is the right word, but which risks to accept?
Through the mayor to Councillor McCook, that as indicated in the slides, that's part of what we're doing with the service level review. We're also, as part of our budget exercises annually, we kind of look at what services that we could offer to reduce or adjust, I shouldn't say reduce, adjust, look at different ideas. But the service level review will be a big part of how we approach that for this coming year and future years.
Okay, thank you. And then are growth-related infrastructure needs being discussed and coordinated early with the Planning and Development Department to kind of prevent some reactive responses from infrastructure?
Yes, we start our budget planning early in 25 for 26. We don't just kind of go, oh, it's budget time. So we proactively look at our budgets throughout the year and collaborate with internal and external partners to make sure that we're looking at all of those things. Now, obviously, we have some challenges with some of our planning documents need to be updated. We're looking at that as well. I think it's important that we're updating master plans and making sure that they're relevant, especially given our rapid growth rate that we're seeing. So those are also factors that we consider.
Thank you. And I know, we sit up here and we talk about the dollars and cents and the service levels and stuff like that, but I think the people piece is also important. So with the team managing significantly more capital projects and infrastructure assets without added staff, what's our current risk of, burnout, turnover, errors?
It's there. I think that we do our best to manage and make sure staff is supported. We look at all opportunities we can and how we can most suitably meet service levels and project commitments. We've got an incredible team that handles the load, but at times it can be challenging for sure. And our culture is one where we put people first, so we manage that risk as best we can, and it can be tricky at times because there are a lot of demands.
Thank you. I think it's important to highlight that. I think that, we can only ask so much from people and keep pushing things down the road until it starts to have an impact. I think, the city in general is facing a lot of pressures, inflation, aging infrastructure, all of that starts to become compounded. And these are just kind of the financial realities that we're all dealing with. Infrastructure supports are dwindling, so we have to look at what we do moving forward, and I think that's why this report and a lot of the data and the reviews that are coming forward will be very important, and they'll give council a clear understanding as to what's at stake, what's sustainable, and really what we need to do moving forward. And I'm sure there'll be some tough decisions to make moving forward, but those reports will be important. So just thank you for your transparency and all the efficiencies you guys work to put into the service levels that you do, even under the strain. But I look forward to those reviews coming forward. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCook. Councillor Barnhart, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor McCook. That was where I was going as well in terms of the human resources that are being supplied and needed. Desperately needed. I'm just wondering if you have, like, on your list of trends, I really appreciated that you're looking out there and you're looking at what's happening around us. And I wonder if embedded in there, you could maybe give a little more detail about what's happening regionally in terms of the workforce. Are we able to fill positions? Are we finding it difficult? Are we contracting out or hiring permanent staff? I mean, anything like that might add some, again, depth to what you're struggling with to kind of maintain the service levels that we set for you. So I agree with everything that's been said. I do appreciate all of the work you're doing. I'm just wondering what's happening around us in terms of personnel trends.
Through the chair to Councillor Barnhart, I think one thing we try to focus on is retaining good staff, for starters, to try to be proactive in retaining really good people, and also attracting good people when there is a vacancy. So we do extensive searches to find the right fit for the team and for the work that we do. I think that there's talent out there that we're able to secure. We have a great recruitment team that works towards that. Probably the limitation we have is just lack of approved FTEs to be able to go and do this. Now, we do a combination of contracting work. Obviously, the different service areas, I'll use roads as an example. We talk about snow clearing. We have some contracted services for snow hauling, but our team does a fair bit of most of the clearing and stuff. So depending on the service, some of it's contracted out, some of it's done by our staff. But given our staff numbers, there's limitations on how much of that work we can do.
Is the trend going more towards the contracting side, or are we getting more permanent staff as we're growing?
It's a combination. I don't know that there's a right answer one way or the other. I think it depends on the service, how much of the service we do. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it makes sense to have in-house expertise for certain things. And in other instances, it makes sense to have contracted expertise. In a lot of cases, a lot of our consulting work is contracted because we don't have that in-house expertise. Where we can, we try to do things in-house. Obviously, there's a cost savings there if we can do it in-house, but there's also a lack of expertise in some areas that we're just not able to accommodate.
Well, as has been said, I think retaining our good staff is very important. So I do appreciate all of the effort and the prioritization that you're putting onto that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barnhart. Councillor Van Newkirk, I'm going to go to CEO Schwartz. I think you'd just like to provide a further answer to that question.
Yeah,
That's you.
and very quickly, I think Aaron covered extremely well. Our strategies are to retain, and then when we look at whether we do work in-house or contract it out, it's done through analysis. Does it make sense? Do we need to build that expertise for the long term? So each one of those decisions is based on what fits. But yeah, FTEs is the answer.
Thank you. Councillor Van Newkirk, go ahead.
Yeah, I was trying to decide earlier if I should hit this topic on the head with a hammer, but so here it goes. And that's social media. So what I want to do is I just want to thank all the staff who were out there providing the service levels to the level that we did. Like everyone else has said here, I want to acknowledge that they are folks who live in the region, outside of the region, in the community. They are children, they are siblings, they are brothers and sisters trying to do their best every day at work. Social media in this community is brutal, especially right now, and it is a challenge for everyone. And I can only imagine how tough it would be to go to work and, read that in the morning, read that in the afternoon on our Beaumont Talks and web pages. So, huge thank you for that. And I really want to just hit this one on the head because personally, I'm getting tired of it, and I can only imagine what the staff are feeling. So, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Van Newkirk. Yeah, I guess the question or the comment that I wrote down to us along a similar vein is, it's not incorrect for citizens or ratepayers, residents of Beaumont to say, you work for us. So the question back though is, I think, what kind of boss do you have? What kind of boss would you like to have? And what kind of boss are you going to be in this case? I don't think we bring the best out of any worker berating people or calling into question their character. So let's try to be the types of bosses that build people up and listen to the challenges and then find solutions and give people the resources they need to do to excel in their jobs. I think that's the Beaumont way, and I'd hate to see us stray from that. I think I guess the other thing I just wanted to add is lots of great comments from across council. I see Mayor Daniluk is ringing in, so I'll go to you in a moment. I'm an images guy, so as I'm trying to communicate out in the community, what I'm taking away from this presentation is a bit of a dated reference, but I see Mr. Lewicki as Scotty on the old Starship Enterprise. And I hear pretty loud and clear, she just can't do it anymore, Captain. I challenge anyone in the community to realistically find meat on the bone in this department. I think every efficiency has been had, barring crazy new technology, and we're always exploring that. It's been a long time since there's been an increase in there. We heard going into the last budget that people were very interested in controlling the tax rate. And so as a council, we made all kinds of decisions to deliver that. What we've heard since then is constant agitation around meeting service levels. And I remember loud and clear in that budget consultation from this table, but also from administration saying, this is a pretty lean budget and we are going to be challenged to deliver the service levels. So here we are, and that's something we'll continue to have to figure out as a community how to calibrate. But I'm hearing it loud and clear. We can't do it more, Captain. Go ahead, Mayor Daniluk.
Thanks. But Scotty always gets it done at the end of the day. He always gets it done on the enterprise. So thanks for your work. Just piggybacking on Councilor Newkirk's comments. People like to complain. It's kind of human nature, it seems sometimes. And social media in Beaumont, as Steve said, can be brutal and has been brutal. I'm very aware of that from the role I play in terms of getting back to residents. And I just want to say one thing, that there are some people who aren't happy, but the vast majority of people in Beaumont, I believe, are happy with the level of services. I met three residents in the last 4 days, and all three said this year was the best year for snow removal they've ever seen in Beaumont. So, a lot of social media doesn't say a lot of good things on social media, but there are many people who do enjoy the work that you guys do and appreciate it. And they also know the challenge that we have fiscally to try and provide more service, less tax increases. That's an ongoing concern we always have. But at the end of the day, I have no problem defending and, quite frankly, promoting the level of service in our city compared to other places. We got a great place here. Some of the stats we have 200 kilometers more roads than we had 4 years ago to maintain, our trails 90% more, so we've got a lot of stuff to do. So many people are very happy here, and piggyback on Councilman Newkirk's comments, you guys do a lot of good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Daniluk. So I hope you're all feeling the love and you can pass that down into your whole department. Mr. Lewicki,
Thanks
thank you
very
for
much.
thank you for the.
I won't give you my Scottish accent, though.
Appreciate.
I am part Scottish.
Madam Clerk, let me save us all from ourselves.
I know, last name isn't.
Madam Clerk, do we have any councillor inquiries tonight?
I do not have any councillor inquiries unless there's a councillor that hasn't forwarded to me.
Seeing none, I think that brings us to closed session. So if I have a councillor repeated motions arising from this closed session, is that correct? But I guess we do have the special council meeting following, so we won't sign off from the public just now. We will be back shortly if you would like to rejoin us after closed session if you're participating from home. Councillor Van Newkirk.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd move that the committee move into closed session at 6:31 PM pursuant to sections 26, 29, and 30 of the Access to Information Act.
Thank you. Can we open the voting, please? Thank you. So welcome back. Just to clarify, nothing emerging from our, no motions arising from our closed session this evening. With that, that brings us to item 8, which is adjournment. So if you're following from home, we'll take a 5-minute recess. This meeting will close, but you can watch for the special meeting to begin in 5 minutes from now, about 7:22. Thank you.
They're watching the game.
I doubt it.